Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Conversations with My Ex. Today is a different type of episode. It's a special edition, if you will. It's kind of meme-ish, if you ask me, but on the day that we're recording this, it is 420. And for those of you that know, people say, I guess it's kind of like a holiday, right? In a sense.
It's kind of like a holiday. I mean, to be honest with you, I look at 420. I've always celebrated 420, as corny as that sounds. It's not
corny.
like I celebrate it. I just have to do something fun that day. It's just an excuse to get higher than I usually get and an excuse to do something. And I also appreciate like the history of marijuana and medical marijuana, and also the history of like, you know, the liberation of like people able to now smoke it freely. And it's not that much of a, you know, letdown if people smoke. I feel like back in the day, it was always like connected with something so negative. And I feel like nowadays it's kind of changed that mark on the world. So I just kind of see it as like another year of like, you know, more people being aware that marijuana isn't a gateway drug. Marijuana isn't like compared to cocaine or heroin. It is, you know, it's something that you can chill and do and not be super. Why are you making that face?
I just think it's so funny because I know you're serious. But the only thing I can think about when you're saying that is welcome back to PBS. Like I'm watching some. I just think it's funny.
Marijuana is not a gateway drug. It is not a gateway drug.
Public service announcement from Ayesha.
And it is legal in Connecticut and Rhode Island. Actually, it's not recreationally legal in Rhode Island yet. I apologize for the dog barking in the background also. But
are you sure? I know it's decriminalized.
That's different than being I got to look it up now. Rhode Island.
It might not be.
Bark. On May 25th, 2022, the Rhode Island Cannabis Act was signed into law, making Rhode Island the 19th state in the country to legalize the possession, home growing, and sale of small amounts of marijuana and for recreational purposes. Okay.
Yes. See, I knew that had to have been the case because Rhode Island's so close to the other two states that are legal, which is Massachusetts and Connecticut.
Yep.
So there's dispensaries all over the place. So it would only make sense because I would assume a lot of people are using it anyways. So in today's episode, what we really wanted to talk about in celebration of the fact that it is 420, we figured what better time to talk about our personal relationship and the origin with the use of marijuana and marijuana in our lives.
Marijuana!
It's like a tongue twister.
You clearly can see the effects.
It's like a tongue twister. I know the exact first time that I've tried it. Did you know, like, the very moment, not the very moment, but the very
remember
first time?
very first time I did, yes, because I just remember when I tried it for the first time, I didn't smoke for a little while, and then I started smoking. So
what do you mean?
I tried marijuana for the first time, and I tried it, and like it didn't entice me. So
I get what you're saying.
Smoke it for a long period of time, and then I got to a point where I did start smoking. But my first time I remember vividly just because it was that one time, and then like a year or so went by and I didn't smoke. But you can tell us your story first.
Yeah, it's funny because of how you started off this whole podcast and talking about how, at least with our generation and people a little bit older and obviously younger, it's more, I guess you could use
normalized.
The word accepted. Yeah, normalized. It's more accepted now than it was before, because I can look at older generations that were told about how it was it considered a Schedule I narcotic, like something crazy like that? It was something.
Gateway drug is the biggest term that I feel like has been connected with weed.
So I feel like the older generation, I think they still have that thought process when it comes to it, because I know a lot of people who don't like it, and I don't even mean like don't like doing it, like they don't like it in general.
Yeah.
Like they think it's such a bad thing for you to do, and that's kind of how I grew up was, oh, don't touch that, that's a problem. Like, don't ever use
Devil's
that.
lettuce.
Yeah, don't touch that. That's not good for you.
And I definitely
all
think
of these different
our
things.
parents' generation, because both of our parents are in their late 50s, getting damn near their 60s. Jared's mom's 60. So that generation specifically, I feel, has the biggest
Yeah.
negative connection with it, which is interesting though, because they went through the whole hippie,
I think
era,
they
and
were
then
too
Woodstock and
young.
all
Too
that.
young.
Maybe they were too young, and they're also, your parents were in a very small town opposed to like a bigger city, and then my parents come from foreign countries, so I feel like that you're kind of like, you're very much
The culture was
protected from,
different.
the culture was different.
But yeah, I do think that it is that generation that has that mindset towards it. So that's why it was never something I even considered. And then I remember I went to, when I was at college, which I was not there for long, very short lived college experience. But when I was there, one of my buddies that went to the same school as me in high school was at college with me. And like most college kids, when you're having a few drinks, everything kind of starts seeming like a good idea. And he went to go do it and asked if I wanted to join. I just said yeah. And I feel like for me at the time, and I've definitely seen it when I've smoked with people who are smoking for the first time, they ask the question after they smoke it, did I do it right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was that person. I had no idea what the heck I was doing. It wasn't like a joint, so it's kind of self-explanatory. It was a bowl. And up until this
But
point,
you also never smoked cigarettes. So I feel
never.
like that's why I had a different experience, because like I smoked cigarettes. This is so nasty to say, but like my girlfriends and I would like buy cigarettes, and like we would smoke them, but wouldn't smoke them. We would just like puff them and not inhale them. And so I remember
Gotcha.
one time
So like a cigar.
yes, which is not how you're supposed to smoke a cigarette. So I remember one time we were in the mall, and we were like in the square where everyone would hang out, and this older girl, like 2 years older than us that we knew, saw us smoking these cigarettes, and she saw that we weren't inhaling them, and she's the type of person to like comment on that. And she was just like, girls, if you're gonna spend your money on cigarettes, at least inhale it, right? So she grabbed the cigarette from my hand, and she was like, you gotta do this. And she like inhaled, and she was like, go like this, like make that noise so you can just like suck it all in and then let it out. And I like remember like Kelly and I, we literally were like, okay. And we did it all of a sudden, like, all right, we got the spins, we got lightheaded. We were just like, oh shit. And this
How
was
old were you?
Like 15.
Oh, okay. So you were just curious.
Yeah.
Do you think that had a
But
lot to do with kind of where you grew up, though?
yes.
Influence wise, or not so much, you think?
I mean, New York is like a state with a lot of smokers. And I feel like when you're watching Sex and the City and all those shows, they're always smoking cigarettes, and it looks fabulous. It really does look fabulous, but it's not fabulous for you. So I just remember getting into cigarettes first, just trying to be cool. Like I wasn't addicted smoking it on a daily basis. I would just like, if I was going out, like I would always have
Oh, it was more for like the appearance of it than the actual use of whatever you were doing.
Exactly. So that's why when I did smoke weed for the first time, I knew, all right, I'm gonna suck it in. But continue your story.
No, it's just funny because I remember I didn't know how to use a lighter like that because I never have I knew how it worked, but I couldn't grasp the concept. Yeah, I could not grasp that concept.
Like multitasking, like
where am I supposed to put my hand? And I don't want to say I had a negative experience at first, but it wasn't enough to hook me. It was, oh, I tried this, cool. And I think when I was there, I did it a few times with my friends, but it wasn't
like a regular
thing for me because I was clueless. If someone wasn't there to hold my hand, this is how you do it. At the time, I didn't even know where to get it. I knew people had drug dealers, but I didn't know. I was like, how do you even figure what a drug dealer out is? How do you even talk to those people? So that never even entered my realm of possibilities. It was a thing that I would do every once in a while with friends at school, probably more or less to feel more connected, to be honest. The same way that you said with cigarettes, it's kind of the appearance of it, the feel and the appearance more than the actual nicotine or whatever you're getting out of it.
It was always like a social thing around here. Like where I'm from, like smoking was always a part of the social thing. Like you had a drink and you had a cigarette, or you had a drink and you had a little joint. Like it was just like how it was and still is kind of to this day. Cigarettes, not as much. Cigarettes, not as much. I've noticed that that's now dying down, especially since like the whole vaping era happened and all of that. But
You hardly ever see cigarettes now. It's always vapes. Everybody has a vape. I feel people who don't even smoke have vapes. It's just weird how vaping kind of took over like that.
Yeah. So you smoked it for the first time in college. You said that was your first time you smoked it.
Yeah, and I remember after I smoked with one of my friends, him and I went back to our other friend's dorm room where they were each with a chick, both of them, and we just walked in because we didn't know what they were doing. And I remember standing in the middle of the room, just not knowing what's going on. Like, not messed up, but just so, like, calm.
Confused.
Not even confused, just comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, you just get comfortable. Like, you're just
comfortable in a room full of people just straight up.
It didn't matter what was happening. Like, I was cozy, just standing there. Didn't matter. Everything, that was my first experience with it. And I remember them stopping, looking at me and like, what are you doing? Get out. I was like, oh, my bad. And that was the first time.
I was having myself a deep stare.
Pretty much.
Yeah, my experience was a little bit different. I was also a lot younger. So the first time I smoked weed, I was like 16. And me and my best friend at the time, we were in the mall. Like I said, we were always hanging out at the mall. That was like the place to be. For, like in the end of middle school, high school, you were always at the mall. And we were walking around, and then these two like skater boys from high school, like, you know, like the typical skater stoner boy, they were just like talking to us because we knew them from school. They're like, guys, want to smoke some weed? I feel like that's like literally how they sounded.
That's the voice they said it. Like,
yeah,
like and a dude luring you into a back alley.
Hey. We were literally, and they literally led us to the parking lot.
It sounds like the cartoon that sells stuff out of the jacket. Like,
that's how I literally. That's how the experience. Like, I remember it as. It's so funny.
Was he wearing a trench coat?
Honestly, probably.
That's the type of person I'm picturing in my head. A beanie, a trench coat. Hey, over here. You guys want some of this? Like, that's what that sounded like to me. That's the image you've given me.
I remember it was a bowl. It was a nice, like, big ceramic bowl. And he just like, he did all of the work for us. He literally like held it for us, held the hole, lit it for me. And we just kind of inhaled. And that was the first experience. And I took a few hits and I was like, oh my God. And we were like, we don't feel anything. And we started walking around the mall, inside the mall. And that's when shit started getting real. And I just remember, I have two memories that I remember the most. One is we were passing by, there was a lot of these like kiosks of people selling products. So I remember I was walking past, and this was like when I was hitting like the climax of the high. And I was walking past one of the kiosks and I saw like cotton swabs. I was like, marshmallows. And I went over and I just like was eating. I literally was eating them.
The cotton swabs?
The cotton, not balls? Swabs, the cotton balls.
You were just eating them.
Like, we were just like joking around. I think I was trying to be
funny.
And then we kept on thinking that we saw my dad. Like, every time we saw an Indian guy walking around, we were like, oh my God, it's my, like, we would like hide. And like, then to a point, like, I got really paranoid.
Yeah, it sounds like paranoia.
Yeah, then we started getting paranoid and we just went back to my dad's apartment, ordered a pizza from Domino's. And that was like the first high experience. And the reason why I didn't like it too much, because my heart was racing way too fast. It was definitely giving me like high anxiety and paranoia for sure. In the beginning, it was like giggly fun, like enjoying it. And then
the different stages of it.
And then it got to a point where I was like, I don't like
the roller coaster
this.
ride that it is being high for the first time. How good was that pizza, though? Was that better than any Domino's pizza you had up until that point in your life?
I mean, I don't think so. I've had some crazy Domino's experiences. Domino's was always like the go-to drunk high food for us.
What do you think it is about Domino's? I think it's underrated.
I know exactly what it is about Domino's because I'm a big fan of Domino's. It's the crust. It's the seasoning. Crust. It's that they have like that garlic powder, oregano, nice seasoning on the crust. And I like myself a nice thick pizza, like the thick crust.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get me wrong, I do appreciate like a nice crisp.
Oh,
like Sally's, Rico's Colony vibe style pizza. But
no, we're talking about in the realm. Yeah. I'm talking about just in the realm of chain
like
pizza. A Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut and Domino's were my top two. Always. But Domino's was always number one.
Do you think Domino's is a little underrated?
100%.
Have you tried their other stuff from there?
Yes. I love their dessert. I love the lava cakes. I love the little cinnamon bite twists.
Oh, those are good.
I like the
With the
cheesy bread.
Cinnabon icing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, those are
I
some
like the
good stuff.
cheesy bread. I also like my
Oh
friend
yeah.
Jeanette put me on like the thin crust because Domino's also has thin crust pizza. She would get
That
like
just
a
goes against the first point you said
I
describing as
know.
why you like the
It was like
pizza.
a chicken bacon ranch thin
Hey,
crispy
I like the
pizza.
thick crust on this
I
pizza.
do, but
I love their thin.
there's also a thin crust one that hits hard.
I love Domino's. I don't get it often, and maybe that helps.
Yeah, that's definitely why it helps nowadays because I was like overdoing it. Like, because the best deal that Domino's had was the 2 for $12. If you know, you know. You could get 2 medium pizzas, or like we would always get 2 medium pizzas. Me and my friend, we would always get the 2 medium pizzas. This girl loved Domino's so much, my friend, that she knew the number by heart. She would like literally
That's
do the Domino's number by heart and would call it. And like we would make jokes and like, because in the beginning of when you're waiting for your call, they like are talking to you about stuff about, oh, just don't forget the 2 for $12 deal. And like we memorize exactly what they would say. So we would like call and like recite it. Like that's how much of regulars we were at Domino's.
You ever notice Domino's? They have that like $5 carry out meal thing where it's cheaper if basically you come and not order for delivery, but basically order and pick it up and leave.
Mm-hmm.
Those motherfuckers don't want anybody in their store. Do not eat it here. Most Domino's I see don't even have a place to eat it. Domino's, get out.
It's a grab and go situation.
Yeah, you come in here. We do not serve you. You come in here and get out. We'll actually make it cheaper for you not to stay here.
But so that was my first experience with marijuaners. And then I remember just getting back into it my senior year of high school. Getting
it was that long
it.
of a layoff for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it was like my sophomore year when I started it. And then I laid off for a little bit. I wasn't really into it. I was getting more into the, starting to try alcohol, still experimenting with things. And then once senior year hit, it was more like people were just smoking more often. And that's when I just started getting into it. And then it got to a point right after I graduated, was when I was smoking it on a daily basis.
Was that, I'm assuming it wasn't just you. Were you with someone that was also smoking? Because that usually helps with things like that.
Oh, 100%. I wasn't smoking alone until like 2-3 years ago. That's when I started like smoking alone.
Yeah.
But like college was when I like, even in college, I always smoked with my roommate. Like we always smoked together. Her and I smoked every single day, multiple times a day. We always smoked. So yeah, going from not smoking it, getting back into it, to smoking it every single day. But then it got to a point when I'd say right before I left for college, like that transition from going into college. And even in college, I smoked more than I should have for sure. But I got to a point when it was becoming way, 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 way too much. And there was someone that I was hanging out at the time that wasn't a good influence on my life. Definitely was not helping the situation, because she would always offer for me to smoke and like smoke me up and all of that. So it's not an excuse, but it's harder to say no to something that's free, that's there. She would drive up to my house, already have it rolled, ready to go.
Make it so convenient for you.
So convenient. And that's
I'll put it in your mouth and I'll light it for you.
Basically. And that I think was because she didn't really have anyone to smoke with like that. So she was like, all right, this person's down. And then it just became like a ritual of like, it was getting bad, like 4 times a day type shit. And that's just disgusting. Like nobody should be smoking that much.
Yeah.
For you to be smoking all day, every day, and not even have like time to like be sober and in your own thoughts. And this is something that I've learned recently, like in the past year, is like when I started realizing like, I don't need to be high for everything. I don't need to, and that's something that you and I, like that was always our thing. Like, we're about to eat, we gotta get high. We're going to the movies, we gotta get high. We're going to Target, we gotta get high.
Here's my thing.
Gotta get high.
With that, at least with the food, it tastes so much better. And I don't even know if it's just the
everything better.
You want to know what it is? I think it's a sensory enhancer is basically what it is, because a lot of times it enhanced food so much, not even just the taste, but like the texture of things. It feels so much different. It sounds so weird to say.
It's true though. It's true. It definitely just magnifies, intensifies. It's just
100%.
that's why it's so highly addictive, because it's like, and it's something that you can do and also not feel like you're fully out of control. Like, yes,
Do you
drinking,
find it highly addictive?
100%. Marijuana?
Yeah.
Yes, I was highly addicted to it for so long. Still am addicted to it, but not as highly as I used to.
But, and maybe this is pretty much what an addiction is, I guess. To me, it just sounds like you've just had that behavior habit for so long,
Oh,
and
100%.
it's less of an addiction and more of a habit, which I don't know if those are the same thing.
Well, I
Because
don't
you
think
can
so,
change
because like
habits.
I feel
You
like if
can
that
break
was the
addictions too, I
I
guess.
feel like if that was the case, I'd be like onto some heavy type shit. If I really had such an addictive, tendency to like do things like that, I feel like I'd be like super more like I definitely do have an addictive personality trait.
I do
Like
too. I
100%.
100% do as
If I
well.
like something, I like the way it makes me feel, I'm with it. But I do feel like it started getting out of control with the weed, especially when I was doing it. Like when I felt like I couldn't enjoy life without being high. And I came to that realization in a weird
Gotcha.
way. But I started realizing like I don't feel like life is kind of like it's only fun if I'm high. It's only enjoyable if I'm high. If I'm gonna go for a walk, I want to get high. Like everything had to involve being high, and that's when it becomes a really, really big problem. And I feel like people need to start being more insightful when they realize that they're getting carried away. I think that they need to take a step back and be like, all right, let's take a tolerance break, let's chill out. Because I didn't do
Yeah.
that until more recently, and I feel like that was a really bad habit to have.
Yeah. That's how I look at it as well. Not to the same extent, because I was never that heavily into it. But I'll do the same thing where if I feel like I'm doing it too consecutively, like too many consecutive days, or if I'm finding the need, maybe not the need's not the right word. I'm finding the desire to
Craving,
want to do it,
craving.
the craving to want to do it before I watch something because I think it'll be more enjoyable, or kind of basically what you were just talking about. That's when I'll give myself like big breaks. When I take breaks, I usually go months at a time, just to prove to myself and to be sure that,
I wish
hey,
I
this
could do
isn't
months at a
any
time.
yeah, isn't like an addiction of any sort. I do that with everything in my life. I have an addictive personality to where if I enjoy something and something's bringing me joy, whether it's short-term joy or long-term joy, if I'm enjoying the process of doing anything, I get very addicted to that, and I like to dive in head first. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what it
I feel
is.
like that's a lot of people that have that
And that
issue
I've
though.
been that way since I was a kid when it came to certain toys or games or TV shows or something of that nature, anything like that I'm getting enjoyment out of, and I more importantly that I get enjoyment out of doing by myself.
Hmm.
If it's something that I do with other people, it's less addicting to me.
Yeah.
Because if I can do it whenever I want and get enjoyment out of it, and I don't have to rely on something other than me to do it, it does become a little addicting. And with things like that in my life, I always dive in head first, and at a certain point, I got to take my foot off the gas
Yeah. And that's the
because
most
I know
important
where it's
part.
going.
The most important part is being able to be aware of it. So that's something that I'm at a stage at now. So talking more about like in the past, and like when I met Jared, I was at a point where I definitely was smoking a lot because my roommate liked to smoke and we would always smoke together. So that was a stage where I was smoking a decent amount. And then I remember we met, and that was one of the first questions you asked me. You were like, "Oh, like, do you smoke? Like, are you into like smoking?" And I was like, "Yeah, I dabble with it." Because
Yeah.
you were getting more into it at that point too.
Yeah, I had just gotten into it because up to that point, I was a social smoker
Hmm.
to the point of I'm at a party, there's drinks around, I've been drinking, and then someone's in their circle like they used to do when everyone would just huddle in a circle
And just pass it around.
and just
Yep.
pass it around. I would just, if there was people that I liked that were in that circle, like close enough friends to I want to go
Hmm.
talk to them, and they were doing that and they go to pass it to me, I would have always done it, but I
Yeah.
was very aware of my limits. I
I think
never went overboard.
I'm very much guilty of the smoking getting more regular for you for sure. Because I just remember that's something that we connected with and we loved to smoke together. And it was something we had a lot of funny memories
Oh yeah.
from being high and smoking and just like chilling out. We were always
Yeah.
responsible with it, you know? But also when we started going to dispensaries over there, when they started opening up in mass and us realizing how close these dispensaries were to us, we were then able to like have a better selection, a broader selection of products and things like that. So that also was exciting.
Was cool about that too is you know what you're getting as well. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that also helped contribute to me doing it a little
Yeah.
bit more frequently.
Having more knowledge about the
More
product.
knowledge, knowing where it's coming from, knowing that other than the fact that you're smoking something, it's safe. Like you're not going to find something that's not supposed to be in there.
Do you remember what was your first dispensary experience? Was it with me?
Probably. Yeah, no, it definitely was.
Yeah, I
Because
think it was Caroline's.
I think it definitely was with you
Yeah.
because when it came to smoking and when I started doing it more regular, right around the time I met you, was still kind of newish to me, but a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
frequently than social because I was hanging out with one of my good buddies that would do it all the time. He would
Mm-hmm.
smoke cigarettes and smoke weed. And I was always hesitant. And then I was hanging out with him so much that I would do it here and there. And I think I just had one really fun experience with him. And then it led to
Mm-hmm.
just being like, oh, I'm okay with doing this a little bit more
But tell us more
regularly.
about your dispensary experience, like your first time being at a dispensary. What do you remember, and what did you like? What were you thinking?
I thought it was cool. I thought it was one of the most interesting things because here is this substance that growing up you hear is terrible. Everyone judges and it's slandered, not slander. I don't know what the right word. It's an insult almost. People are trying to insult you and they're like pothead or,
Mm-hmm.
they were always negative associations with that. So I think that first experience of saying, hey, I can just go in here. I'm of age. I can purchase this. It's legal. It's taxed. There's all of this stuff. Makes you feel like, oh, maybe it's not as bad as everyone was telling me when I was growing up. That's not to say that things that are legal aren't bad. Arguably, too much of anything is bad.
Yeah.
So I just remember thinking that it was one of the coolest things.
So
I couldn't believe I could do it. I couldn't believe
my
that it was
first
a thing.
experience was in Colorado, which was really cool. And like I made it.
And that must have been early on, right? Before
Yeah,
it was.
it was for my 21st birthday.
So it was basically at that point just California and Colorado, right?
Yeah, it was not even. It wasn't
wasn't like
legalized
around.
here.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
And at that point too, I didn't move to Rhode Island, so like Massachusetts legalized it. I think right around the time that I moved to Rhode Island, I believe, is when they legalized it, like complete, like when they had dispensaries and stuff open.
Okay.
I could be wrong about that, but that's how it felt. And I was with Brooke, and I was in Colorado because I was checking out the campus that they had there for Johnson and Wales. They have multiple campuses, and I was actually really certain that I wanted to move to Colorado. Like when I applied intending to go to the Colorado campus. So I was like, well, let me go visit the campus. One, I can plan it around my birthday because I was at that point, I didn't care to drink. I just wanted to smoke legally and go to a dispensary. So I made a trip where I brought my best friend and my dad. We visited the school. And then like the next few days, it was just me and my girl. And we explored. And I just remember the first dispensary I went to, we had to like go down these stairs and just like the smell hit me so hard. And I was like, holy shit, like I cannot believe that I'm about to be in an establishment that is just filled with marijuana everywhere. And I went in and it was just such an experience. I was so wowed at like the menu and the colors and you could smell it and you could feel it and you could touch it. And it was like just so cool. And I just remember that the bud tenders knew that we were super amateur and that this was our first time. And like, they were nice about it. Like they gave us the rundown. They didn't make us feel like, because, sometimes they'll belittle you a little bit. Like, oh, it's your first time. Like, they don't make you feel too comfortable.
Really?
So
You've experienced that?
Yes, I have. In California specifically.
Okay. Well, that makes a little more sense out there. I was going to say, in terms of people that work at the dispensaries,
I have 9 times out of 10, they're amazing.
I've never met someone who wasn't in a fantastic mood.
Mm-hmm.
Not, they're all super friendly. That's what I'm saying. And not to, I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut off your story. I just had an idea.
No, no, go
Not an
for it.
idea, but a thought. Um, Everyone's super friendly. And you look at how demonized it was for the longest time. And I've heard of angry drunks, and everybody's okay with
Yeah.
pretty much everybody drinking over the age of 21. There's angry drunks. I have never met someone who smoked weed and got angry. Never. Never in my life.
And that's the
And
crazy
that's
thing.
demonized, and you know what I mean? I'm just,
And alcohol is so much more impairing to your brain and to your whole being. It just completely, like, you can't operate anything really. But with weed, like, obviously, yes, you shouldn't be driving and all that high.
yeah,
But
it's
I
more
don't,
productive.
I don't feel like I don't have control of myself and my
Yeah.
body. Like, if I were to smoke and get some work done, like, I would feel like focused and good and fine. It won't take away from me. If anything, I'm the type of productive smoker that will smoke and do a task. Like, what, like, I'll be like, all right, I'm going to smoke, get a little high, clean my apartment,
Yeah.
then I'll take a little bit of a rest. Like, I like to use it as a reward for myself. Like, that's what I like to use it as now, especially because I feel like before it doesn't feel like a reward when you're constantly doing it all day long. But when it's something that it's like, all right, I didn't smoke for a few days. I have to clean my entire apartment. I don't feel like it, but you know what? I'm going to treat myself, smoke a little bit before, smoke a little bit after, and I'll be able to enjoy it. So I feel like that's how I've had to kind of shift the connection that I have with it and how I use it, and just being like, all right, this isn't just going to be something that you can willy-nilly do all day long. But if you get your shit done and do what you have to do, then yeah, you can treat yourself to a little bit.
I almost look at smoking like the evening drink that some people have. Like, after a long, hard day, you might have been super productive. You get a lot of stuff done. You're tired. You feel good. And you want to have that one glass of wine or that beer or that cocktail just to unwind while you watch your favorite show after a hard day's work. To me, that's how I, especially now, enjoy using weed,
Mm-hmm.
is mainly a pre-bed thing because it helps me fall asleep, it relaxes me, it calms me down. But in the same vein of what it does for you, if I want to clean, it does make me be a little bit more OCD. It does make me pay a little bit more attention to
Detail
certain
oriented. I'm a
yes,
lot more
very detail
detail,
oriented.
which is so, I feel like,
I'm more
ironic.
creative. I'm more creative. I
Mm-hmm.
You know how everybody is always says, "Oh, when I take a shower is when I have my best ideas." Everyone has the best ideas when you take a shower. And I know scientifically it puts your brain in, I don't want to say it's alpha wave states. I don't know what that wave it puts it, but I know it puts it in some special wave that makes you more creative. It gives you more ideas. It puts you more in a flow state. You ever hear someone say when you get into a flow, it's like
Mm-hmm.
time just kind of disappears. You're just so in whatever you're doing. You're just so present. And I think to me, sometimes smoking does that to me because I don't ever get high to a point where, like you said, it's impairing or it's ruining my function
Like, you're
in any way,
brain
shape, or
dead.
form. Every time I ever use it, I always microdose it, which is like
That,
one, two
yep.
puffs, just get a little bit of a head feel. I'm not trying to look like a blob on a couch. Like, remember those commercials with the
Of the,
cartoons
like,
with the,
sinking in the couch.
yeah,
She's
they're either
literally like
flat.
Flat Stanley.
Yeah, like she got run over by a
Yo,
what do they
so
call it? A steamroller,
dramatic. So
or the
dramatic.
cartoons where the dog can talk to him and it comes over and it's like, "Hey,
Yeah.
are you gonna take me out?" And he's just like, "In a minute." And
My
then
dog much
5 hours
rather me be
later,
high, because when I'm high, I'll take them on walks. I like to be with the nature outdoors. Like, today is gorgeous outside, and it's 420. Like, today's the perfect day to just bask in the sun, chill, and enjoy the vibes. And I think that, back to the topic of celebrating 420 and like why people celebrate it. I do really do feel like people celebrate it just to celebrate that it is more of a positive thing than a negative. And it can be more positive than negative. It's only negative if you make it negative. And I feel like any relationship you have with anything, whether it be alcohol, with weed, with pills, with food, you have to be able to balance it in your life and be able to just not let it take over you as a person. If you're feeling like it's controlling you and you're not controlling it, that's when it becomes a problem. And I feel like that was something that I had to. Why are you smiling like that?
Because you're talking about balance, and then you threw pills in there. I don't know if anyone should be balancing pills.
When I say pills, I am talking more about like mood stabilizers and people who are mentally ill and taking pills, because
you're talking about like Oxycontin.
I believe
there's no way you should be taking that.
I believe in medication, and I believe that if you are diagnosed with a mental illness, certain pills will help you. But I do also feel that when you're just filling yourself up with all these drugs, it's hard for you to balance yourself out. And I think there is a balance when it comes to medication, because you could be
I agree.
the first person to talk about it with Adderall. It's just that's something.
But I never abused Adderall.
You didn't abuse it, but you used it on a daily basis. You weren't one day without it. And in a way, that's kind of you're not abusing it in a way that you're trying to get the feel. Yeah. But that's abusing it. And your mind is now constantly just in that Adderall loop. Yeah. It can't function on its own. Yeah.
So you build a dependency on it. But yes, I agree. Especially when you say medication, there definitely needs to be a balance. I know Adderall is Adderall, mood stabilizers, things like that. Probably more mood stabilizers than Adderall. I had this thought with when you were saying balance is I agree where I think medication will and does help people.
And is necessary in certain
It is necessary. Cases. But in terms of like using it, overuse, I see
overusage.
When overuse happens
on a daily basis. It should be something that you're diagnosed. They find a medication that's right for you. You take it. You make sure that you're getting the effects of it. And then I feel like there should be a process in which you wean yourself off it, but you still have it there accessible if it's really necessary. And then you're able to maybe microdose or.
Yeah. Cause I think overuse comes from when you are just using it to not even survive, like silence a feeling, like
numb yourself.
In other words, I don't feel like dealing with a certain thing, and now I'm going to overtake this. Where if it's prescribed daily and you have that balance, I think there needs to be that healthy balance of I'm going to use this as basically a something to help me, but there's other things that you have to do just by yourself that's not medication to kind of balance that self out. And I think that's the balance. I think, like you said, overuse comes from that.
We're not doctors.
This is just opinions.
You know what I mean?
Our perspective, our opinion on it.
Our perspective and our opinions, and especially with, I live in a family. Does that even make sense? I have a family.
You live inside of a family.
There is a lot of mental illness, and there's a lot of people who are on medication and things like that. And I have noticed, the positive effects of it and also the negative effects.
Yeah. And I've seen it as well with people that I know.
But getting back into the positive marijuana topic, so like I said, in our relationship, we really did like to smoke. We would go to the movies and smoke. We would smoke and cook together, but we would
not
always
like in the movie.
Yeah, but we would always do things like it's not like we were. I feel like it's one thing to like smoke and then like you said before, be slumped on a couch and be really like useless. But like we weren't like that. Like we would go do things. We would be active. We would
use it intentionally.
Yeah, it was intentional. It was very much intentional.
We used it with the intention of we're going to do this and we're going to have a good time, but we want to have a great time.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't like we were like smoking the entire time. It's like we smoked a little bit before, enjoyed the reality of life, and then like moved on.
But I think it becomes a problem when you're starting to use it to escape a feeling. You and I did it to enhance. Some people use it to escape. And I think it's very important that if you are someone who, like we said, with alcohol, with marijuana, with anything, is understanding and being aware of how am I using this? And we use it to have fun.
Exactly. And that's even a problem that I have with alcohol now, because I definitely feel like my drinking habits are something that I would really like to balance out more. But like, I don't drink to get drunk. And I'm saying this out of the genuine, soul. I do not drink to get drunk. I drink being drunk because I love the taste. I love the pairing with meals. It's more the culinary background and restaurant background that I have. I more so enjoy the experience of having a drink, of having a craft cocktail, the mixology that comes into all that. It's very interesting and beautiful, and I love how it tastes. And if I could drink without having to get drunk. And like mocktails are different. Like it's just, it needs to have a spirit in there. Like it really does. A mocktail doesn't taste the same as a cocktail. I don't give a fuck
No, yeah,
how
yeah, I
hard
know
you
what you mean.
try. So I really do enjoy the experience. So I do hate that it gets so negative in my life because, you know, if I do have 3 or 4 cocktails, like that's 3 or 4 cocktails.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just, so that's something that I really do want to balance in my life is the drinking. And I've been able to, you know, hone in on the smoking and getting that balanced out. And I'm happy at where I am. There's obviously more work to be done, but I am happy that I'm able to have more control over it in my life.
Yeah.
I hate that I like to smoke in the morning too. I hate that shit.
Oh, I don't.
I'm a wake and bake kind of girl. I
I'm a.
love to wake up and just
I'm more of a before bed type of guy.
yeah. You're
Or if I have
definitely
nothing else going on, because sometimes
you're a
if
nighttime smoker opposed to a daytime smoker.
yeah, I'm not much of a daytime smoker, but
Mm,
I'm similar to you when it comes to alcohol. I don't like being drunk. I actually
despise
hate
it.
being drunk. I do,
I'd rather
and
not be.
it happens probably like twice a year on accident, where you're just caught up in having such a good time, and
That's a
then
good number. Only twice a year you get like fucked up.
yeah, I try to avoid it as much as I can. I mean, I'll say 2 to 4 because you know you might have some years where you had 6 and they balance each other out.
I'd say like once every few months I have one of those nights. That's
Oh, I
like
can't.
you did it too much. Like once every like 3-4 months, I'd say, which is not good.
But I'm saying for me, there's a difference between I have way more days where I wake up feeling like, oh my God, I'm hungover, but I didn't feel drunk the night before
Yes.
versus when I say being drunk, I mean, oh my God, I'm so uncomfortable. Oh, I've done too many. A lot of times, the less I drink, um, like if I just have 3 beers, I'll feel worse than if I had like 3 tequilas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just the fullness and the staleness that kind of comes with it. But I don't like being drunk. I don't even really like being buzzed, to be honest with you. Just enjoy the experience,
Yeah, the experience of it.
the social environment that it creates. Nothing as you get older is as fun as going out with really close and genuine friends and just having a
It's
drink and
never
a
gonna get
nice
old for me.
conversation.
That's never gonna get old for
And
me. Like I see myself like in my 60s, like if I make it that far, and still
so negative.
having like a girls' night and enjoying cocktails and having wine
Yeah.
nights at the house. Like it's something that I really do love.
I like the exploration like you do when it comes to wine, different types of wine, regions, when it comes to, you know, bourbon and whiskey, just what creates the different tastes. I know
Mm.
I'm not so much into the pairing as you are because I'm not the culinary background. I just enjoy the experience and the
Just
taste when
hand
it
me
comes
the
to alcohol.
drink. Yeah. So, but back on the weed topic, was there anything else that we wanted to mention about marijuaners? And I know my mom is listening to this right now, and I know that you hate that I smoke, and just know that I'm in a better place now and I can balance it more in my life. And you should be proud of how far I've come. So I know you're listening, and this is a shout out to you. Love you, but don't hate. And that's Ayesha's moment number
Yeah,
2.
Aisha's moment. Yeah. Several moments today. Crazy.
No, because my mom is, and I love my mom, but she overdoes it. And don't get me wrong, she has a point, and she definitely knew when I was at a stage where it was really becoming something that was taking over my life. And I will take responsibility for that, and I will understand that she was right in that moment. But now she sees it as like every time you smoke, it's bad. You shouldn't be doing that at all. And it's like if you're gonna be drinking alcohol and doing that as much as I do my smoking, then don't judge me or think that it's bad.
Yeah, and not even just in that case, but in general, alcohol is way worse than
It's way
smoking weed.
worse. It's and
Way
that
worse.
I don't even want to get into that topic because one, it's gonna get me heated, and two, there's like will be a whole nother hour here
Yeah.
talking about it. But I just
Just
think
in
that
general,
it's
that's
ridiculous.
just me sprinkling it over the top of
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, and I'm on the same page where I like alcohol more, but
Do we have any funny high stories together that you can remember? Anything like in particular?
it's funny because they all have to do with food. There's one point in particular when this night was crazy, and I can't wait to see what your face looks like when I start telling this story. I don't necessarily remember how long ago this was, but it was before we moved in together.
Okay.
There was one night where we were hanging out, and it was probably towards the end of the summer, probably in the fall. We had a lot of fun through that time, just eating a lot together. So
Yes.
we
We
decided,
were
hey,
fatties together.
we needed to go on a diet. We both sat down and said, we need to reel this shit in. It's getting out of control. We do not look good.
And we don't feel
And
good either.
we don't feel good either. But being the type of people we are, we said, well, we can't just say, yeah, we're done. We got to go out with
A
one
bang.
last
no.
meal. One last meal.
I remember it now.
The worst part about this
Ugh.
is the excitement that we felt knowing what we were, knowing
About
the journey
to embark on.
Yeah, seriously. We decided, let's see how much we can eat. Let's see how much we can get. And when you get to that point,
not even that. We just wanted to get a few items because there was a street that was close to where Jared lived, and it has a Wendy's, a Burger King, a Taco Bell, and a McDonald's within the same mile of each other. Like, so we were just like, all right, well, we're gonna go off with a bang. We're gonna cut out junk food, and we're gonna, like, especially fast food, and we're gonna try to cut down on the smoking. So this was like our last hurrah. And we most definitely went to each of those places and got a few items from each place.
The hardest part was we wanted so many things from the same place that we had to kind of pick and choose. Like, all right, if we get a burger from McDonald's, we can't go get a burger from Burger King, or we had to kind of switch it up a little bit.
I remember getting a burger from Burger King, fries and a McFlurry from McDonald's. Or maybe it wasn't a McFlurry. It could have been a Frosty from Wendy's. Wendy's was like a chicken tender vibe. And then Taco Bell, we went way too out at Taco Bell. I think that's where we went the most crazy. Because I just remember having like a Doritos Loco Taco in one hand and like a little chalupa ass looking thing in the other hand. And I got the cheesy Fiesta potatoes.
Yeah, we didn't go crazy with Taco Bell. I feel like when it comes to Taco Bell, you're in the mood for just Taco Bell, or I could eat Taco Bell. That's how I am, at least with Taco Bell. But I remember the plethora of stuff when we got home. We were, all right, TV's on. We're feeling good. Spread out this whole entire feast. This feast that I don't even think we finished it all. I don't think we did.
Oh, we didn't. We tapped out. I think we tapped out a little after like halfway point. Like,
how far in did the disgust set in?
Oh, so quick, because you know me. Well, you're kind of similar. We both eat fast. I definitely eat faster, but once,
so unhealthy.
It was so bad. It was so bad. We felt like such shit the next day and the night of.
The funny part is you hit that point of disgust, but hey, I'm not gonna waste all this. So you just power through it. You power through the disgust.
We could have stopped at a point and we were just like, look, we're doing this. This is our last hurrah. Fuck it. And then that's where we went wrong. And that's where we really started.
I think there was McFlurries involved as well.
There was definitely McFlurries involved. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
That's a funny story. That's
do you have one?
Story.
Do you have one? That one stands out to me the most.
Yeah, that one definitely stands out for sure. I should have thought this out and really jotted down some stories, some high stories.
Yeah,
I can't think of anything specific.
Because the problem is oh nope, I got one. I got another one.
Oh my god!
There was one time they all centralize around food. Every single one of them has something to do.
Dave and Buster's High was always fun.
Oh, you're gonna laugh when you remember which one I'm telling right now.
Oh my god, how do you remember all of this?
Always around food.
Okay, let's hear it.
There was one night where we wanted to go out to eat. We wanted to kind of have a date night that wasn't really a date night. It was more or less, we're not going to get dressed up. We're just going to put clothes on, whatever. But we want to get out of the house. So it was like one of those where we're not really going on a date, but we want to get out of the house. And we weren't trying to do anything crazy. So we're like, fuck it, Chili's. So we went to Chili's. And
this is the best story.
yeah.
This is the best story. I like this story better than the. I forgot about this story.
I don't remember if they told me they were there ahead of time or they were just in the area and they were, or no, we decided to go to Chili's and they were there. So we walk in.
Yeah, we bumped into them.
And my aunt and uncle were there eating. We
love them very, very, very much. They are the funnest, most amazing people on the planet.
Mind you, right before we go in, we smoke, so we're feeling hungry and we're feeling good.
Sorry.
Now we order a little bit. I think we just ordered our drinks and then we told the waiter we'd be right back. We walked over to their booth. We started talking to them. We're having a conversation. I don't remember how far into this conversation. I remember my uncle looking at me and saying, "Are you high? You're way too calm right now. You're way too quiet. You're too quiet." Because I was just standing there, just
And you
whatever.
never just stand there.
No, I talk. I flap my gums with the best of them.
So that was the big whoa for them. Like, hold up, what's going on? What drugs are you guys on?
And they thought it was funny. They thought it was the funniest thing. The best part is we were about to go back to our table so we could order, and they go, "Oh, you guys okay? Do you guys need a ride home?" But we had just gotten there. We're like, "No, we're good." My aunt goes, "Who drove there?" I said, "She did," and she goes, "He did." She drove me there. She drove there.
And they were just like,
what? I was like, I did not drive.
And I remember she told us the next day or something that she was like, yeah, I think one of her friends mentioned that she saw you. And then they were like, yeah, they're the table with all the food on their table. Because
they came to say goodbye.
We had 4 plates.
We ordered the menu. They still, if I bring that up to them, they remember that day pretty fondly.
Oh my God, because they found it so funny.
They'll bring it up again every once in a while.
You're like, who drove? He did. She did.
I remember just looking at you being, what are you talking about?
And you would always be like, Ayesha, don't stress. Because I'd be like, oh, I don't want them to know that we smoke, that I smoke.
They don't
go
care.
and tell your mom. But that was we barely really knew each other. We were only we were fresh in the relationship at that point. So I was still really paranoid. But then I realized down the line that they are the funnest. They do not give a shit.
And I shouldn't say I know. Do you remember? I have another story that's kind of funny. So basing it off of you saying that you were a little paranoid because you didn't want them to know. And they don't care, my aunt and uncle, that we smoke and whatnot, because they don't judge us. It's not a big deal. They know that
they got friends that smoke. That's for sure.
Yeah, and we're responsible people. So I don't think that my parents know that I do, although my dad hints at it all the time. So if I had to guess, I think my dad does, but he doesn't just straight out and say it because he jokes around with me quite a bit.
I feel like he wouldn't even care either. It's your mom that would care.
Yeah. So do you remember this time we were hanging out at my house waiting for some of my friends to come over?
Oh my God, this story.
And I think we were playing cards that night or something. Everyone was going to come over, have some drinks. We were going to play cards. So we had the table set up, and only one of my friends was there at this point. We're waiting for everybody else. And her and I went outside to smoke real quick just to kind of, whatever. We're not going anywhere tonight.
I don't know why I thought that we were actually smoking down there.
No, we weren't. It was just the smell of us coming back in. So we came back in and sat down, and then my dad, I don't know if he had just gotten home, but he popped his head in the door, says, "Hey guys, what's up?" Just, saying what's up. And then he looks at us and he goes, "What, did you smoke pot down here?" Jokingly. And her and I were mortified.
We were
like, what? No.
We
did not.
My heart was in my asshole. I was not well. I was like, oh, no. But his dad's just funny like that. And my dad knows that I smoke. He definitely knows that I smoke. And it was funny because a few months ago, I got my battery died in my car. And I had a phase where I was always smoking in my car. I'm actually at a point where I don't smoke in my car anymore. There's still residents. What the fuck?
There's still residents. There's still folks living in my car. We still have residents.
There's a residue. There's definitely some leftover. When you go in my car, you know that all right, this girl smokes, but it's not as strong as it used to be. But for some reason that night, I hotboxed the car.
What, the night before you?
Yes, the night before. And then I think I even smoked in there in the morning, something weird. and my battery died. And my dad comes and like, I'm not like open about it with my dad, but he just knows. And like, he wanted to come in the car to like check how to open like something. He was just like trying to look in the car. And I was just like, no, I can do it. And he get it. He was like, Jesus Christ, girl. I was like, I'm sorry. It smells a little bit like hashish. She was like, a little bit? So like I always get into those moments with my dad where like it's not like I'm not open. Like my mom knows I'm open. Like I smoke and I'll tell her to her face. But my dad, like he knows it. I'd rather him be oblivious to it because he likes to be oblivious.
You want to know what it is? I think I shouldn't say every parent, but most parents are probably a little more shocked the first time, and like
And then
that's when they first hear it. I think that's when they care the most, and then as time goes by, they realize, oh, whatever.
Not with my mom. I think that's the one rule that doesn't go with my mom.
Yeah, I mean,
she's so against it. She hates it so much.
Everybody has their things. In my head, the way that I look at it is, as long as I'm always doing it responsible and being respectful of where I'm doing it, who I'm around when I'm doing it. You know, I'm not going to be
being respectful.
Yeah, and being responsible with when and where I do it.
Cleaning up after yourself, not throwing your filters or buds anywhere, like, you know, messing with nature. Like, be responsible, be clean. Don't make it up, because you're making us all look bad. Because then when you see that, you're like, oh, this pothead. Like, you smoke weed, you leave a mess here.
But you can definitely see, getting back to like the generation gap, like now everything, even in states where it's legal, it's almost like you can find stuff that's infused, all this stuff. And there's certain people who are okay with the edible side of things, but aren't okay with the smoking side of things.
That's what I'm trying to wean into, more edibles.
I know it's like a different, you know, feeling, and it works differently. And maybe if you don't like the smell of it on people and it bugs you, then
and your lung health, for me,
your lung health. But I'm saying like the people who are okay with consuming it one way but demonize consuming it the other is more or less what I'm saying. Like, if you're okay taking it one way,
to each their own. Like, you
know, I used to take my Adderall because it's a pill. I've also seen people or heard of people who like just snorted it,
right? But
which
that's
is
not. I feel like that's
it's the same. It's the same thing. I don't think I understand it hits the body different, but I'm saying the substance that you're putting in yourself is the same.
People should not be snorting it.
No, you shouldn't be. But what I'm saying is the substance that you're putting in yourself is the same regardless of how you're consuming it.
But what the fuck? People are crazy.
Yeah. I was like, why? What's the it works regardless. You don't have to.
You're correct.
You don't have to do that. It's quite all right. You know?
That's one of those things. Although our relationship with, you know, weed has definitely changed throughout the years, I feel like now, like, it's at a cool point where like we're seasoned smokers, and like,
you know what you can handle, and
and I don't get to a point where I'm like, of course there's times when I'm a little too high, but I've never felt like, other than one. So any bad edible experiences for you? Because my worst one was actually recently, like a month or two ago.
No, but I have a good edible story.
Yo, I literally felt like I was going to die. It was just too much. I mixed 2 different edibles together, and I got hot sweats, flashes, high blood pressure.
Where did you get these? They don't sound like...
Oh, never.
Sounds like you took Molly.
Delta 8. So what's your edible story?
You were there. It was right before...
with the late munch edibles?
Yeah.
You got really high off those.
Yeah, but you couldn't eat it, which is why it was hilarious. Because... Unless it's in gummy form. Is it gummy that you can eat? It's only gummy, right?
Yeah, like gummies and like chocolates maybe, but like not even chocolates. Like, but anything cake, cookie.
Oh, yeah.
I can't do it. Rice Krispie treat. I cannot do it. The taste.
It was like a cereal bar, and we were like going to split it because it's pretty strong. So I start eating it, and every time she goes to put it in her mouth, she starts gagging. She's like, I can't. And I'm just dying. Because it doesn't taste great, but it doesn't taste bad.
But like I want to eat it so bad, and I want to get so high so bad that I literally had a seltzer, and I was like, all right, I would chew it up, chug it, like take a break. Like, it was such a scene for no reason.
Yeah, but I remember after it set in for me,
you got
everything was funny. Everything. I don't know why. Everything was fun. Well, I do know why. It was the edible, but everything was hilarious. And then I stood up too fast, or something. No, I was taking a shower, and then halfway through the shower, I had to get out because I felt like I was going to pass out because I was like, whoa, I got lightheaded. It only lasted like 2 minutes, like the lightheadedness, but I was like, oh no.
Those are strong. Those are
And
hella strong.
I would say the worst experiences in general are when I mix it with alcohol and I have too much of each.
Yeah, I don't think mixing anything is a good idea. I've learned
And
that
the
the
last
hard
time
way.
I did that, and one of the only times I did that, was probably
My
a
birthday?
day or two after that whole edible story. We went for your birthday, and we were just having too many shots of tequila, and you mix in.
Yeah.
I think you get to a point where you just, like, at least with me, if I do get accidentally drunk, it's like I'm gonna eat way too much. I'll probably smoke more than I need to, and not anymore because of that experience. But
But I think the moral of our podcast was to just talk a little bit about our experiences with weed and some stories. And then also, I think just reiterate to the public it's like how important balance is. I think that that's something that I just really want people to take away is that,
yeah,
just be aware of your tendencies and when you feel like you're overdoing it, and then be able to take a step back and reevaluate a few things
yeah,
and change your connection. And I like how you said intentional. You have to be intentional with it.
yeah.
You
With
can't just be
what you're trying to
doing
get
it
out
to
of it.
do it. Yeah, be intentional about it. Everything you do in life, there should be some kind of intention. So I hope you enjoyed a little bit of our spiel of 420 vibes.
Yeah.
Hey, any plans for 420, Jared?
No, it's funny because you were like, I celebrate it. I don't. I just think
Yeah.
to me, it's like celebrating Pie Day. Like,
Yeah. I'll eat
3/14, you're
some-
like, I need to go get a pie because it's Pie Day. It's like the same thing. Like, oh, I'm going to smoke because it's 420. It's like a meme. Like, I don't really care. I just
I'm
know that
excited.
this was like one of those things where we could do a different type of episode for. So
Yeah.
I'm embracing it. But if I'm not going to change my behavior just because of
So
the day.
I don't change my behavior. I just like do fun things. So like today I like going into the city. So tonight I'm going into Chelsea, New York with my girl, and there's these two pop-up shops in the city, both within like 20 minutes of each other. One's at the Standard, which is a hotel, and then one's at Moxie, which is a hotel. And they're both gonna have like pop-up 420 with like vendors, and they're gonna have like just people like selling things, candles, hemp this, CBD that, but it's like a cool little like networking, and it's free. And that's something
If it's free, it's for me, right?
it's
That's what they
free,
say.
and there's usually free shit that comes with all that too, like little swag bags, little handouts. So that should be fun, and then we'll probably get some food over there. But I'm excited. I feel like New York has a lot of like I was sad because I should have planned this out sooner because there were so many cool events going on. Like there was like a comedy show that's gonna bring out, and I don't know if it's like a recording of it or if they're coming in, but it was like Snoop Dogg and Seth Rogen doing like a roasting on each other. It was like a comedy show event in New York, and then there was like an Amsterdam coffee shop experience with infused desserts. Like they just have a whole bunch of things that you could do for cheap. What?
You just laid out your entire itinerary.
Yeah. People need to know what I'm up to. We don't play around. But on that note, thank you so much for listening. I'm so grateful for the people that reached out to me and congratulated me on this, and Jared.
Yep.
And, said that they took the time to listen to it and give me feedback and say that they really enjoyed it. So I really do appreciate that.
Yeah.
And again, we're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We have an Instagram account, the TikTok. Still working on TikToks and trying to figure out how I want to do that, but we're going to be posting TikToks, and yeah.
Yeah, this whole thing is a work in progress. We're having a lot of fun doing it so far, and we can't wait to continue to make more podcasts and grow and have you guys grow along with us. So we appreciate, like she said, I'm going to reiterate that everyone that reached out, love it. Feedback is so important. If you're listening to it in the Apple Podcast Store, if you really did enjoy it, please leave a review and a comment and just tell us what you actually thought about it. Same thing on YouTube, leave a comment, whatever you can do. This is one of those fun episodes that wasn't really advice driven, just her and I having a conversation like we normally do. We're not afraid to share anything on this, so we're going to be very, very open with everything moving forward. So we appreciate you guys listening. Can't wait to have you guys listen to the next episode.